Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are back. We are live. The stock market sold off. We have Powell talking tomorrow. Something about maybe Jackson's Hole. I'm not sure what his symptoms are, or if it's a Jackson Hole symposium. But we got that tomorrow. We got that. We have Powell. You know, when he talks, everyone, likes to think things. He usually says the same thing over and over again. But at the time of me going live, we have 15 hours and 6 minutes until we get that. So, as far as fireworks go, I kind of think we're done. The stock market did sell off today. I did buy the dip. Also, if you were watching the previous streams, you guys know I bought puts. They finally paid off because last week they did not. It was a little early, but the NVIDIA puts did pay out. But then also I did buy some SPY calls. They were up 30%, 20%, somewhere around there. I remember looking at it and thinking, that's not enough. I'll go ahead and wait. So we'll see. But yes, we finally had a red day. Let's just jump into it. The dollar hit that speed bump zone right back up. Now, as far as this goes, this is a weekly zone. Pink is weekly. Yellow, daily, 4-hour. There's only one candle difference between a daily and a 4-hour candle anyway. And then blue is hourly. So it is important that you guys do the colors because, anyway, if you look at the weekly, if the dollar goes up any further, ultimately that weekly zone did hold on the weekly. And if we zoom out just a tad bit further, dollar is very, very much so horizontal, which is not good for me because I am very much short the U.S. dollar. I'm actually short the U.S. dollar Japanese yen, which is now kind of dropping and basing. Green is a monthly zone. I'm on a much higher time frame. I've been short this thing for some time, this whole ride down, as a matter of fact. All I'm doing is adding on, and I'm going to continue to do that. But that being said, I need this thing to absolutely melt. I need the dollar to break out of that horizontal range. If we can get some confirmation there as far as the U.S. dollar Japanese yen, we break this monthly zone, and then the U.S. dollar breaks this horizontal pattern, that'll be the last that I go in. Right now, I do have 8 lots, and I want to have 2 more. So a lot is 100,000 units, and I want to have just not because it sounds cool, but right now I'm thinking for now 1 million, and then I'm just going to add on again more and more. But the last checkpoint will be those two things happening. Screw that zone. You're supposed to be short the U.S. CAD. I am short the U.S. CAD as well. So shout out to my admin for calling that out today. He said, go short U.S. CAD. Thank me later. Now, it sold off. We popped up and then went short. So hopefully that is about to break as well. And there's just not a lot in the way. I do want to chart out. There is a little situation going on right here. So as far as management goes, that's kind of what I would want to keep an eye out on for anybody that is short the U.S. dollar, U.S. CAD. He also did bring up the fact that, so we went long this. It was a zone play. We went long at this zone, but it did tag out. It went weekly zone to weekly zone. And we capitalized on a chunk of that, which sucks because typically if a trade's going to go from 0 to 100, I'm happy, and you should be happy, ecstatic even, if you go from 10 to 90. That's a lot of the trade. To go from 1 to 30, then watch that, you're like, could have held on to that a little bit better. But while everyone is getting in here, let's take a look at this chart real quick because I want you guys to know something. Not sponsored, but also not a monster. So, I guess for the TikTok crowd. This would be important if you've been following me for a while because I usually drink monsters. But when I quit, they sell off. So anyway, that's probably why Monster had a red day today. CELH, it's probably time to just be bullish because that's how I roll. I do have a mild addiction, and I don't know why, but if I don't have an energy drink, I probably just don't live that day. So anyway, probably the dip buy on CELH. But back to the dollar, back to everyone else. Bitcoin, still doing the thing. There's nothing to talk about on Bitcoin until we break this range. I'll draw some lines so you guys have the numbers on the right. Speed bump zone right here. 61.2 to 62.5. And then we sell off to the 50, we'll call it 58 to 59.5. If that doesn't break, just don't worry about Bitcoin. There's nothing. There's headlines, there's news, there's things going up and down everywhere. Until it coincides with the dollar movement or breaks these zones, there's just nothing to break down, right? It's just sideways. And who trades that from zone to zone? You trade from zone to zone on Bitcoin. You could have traded a few times, actually. Here's 3 just solid, 4 actually, even easy times. From 59 to 61-ish, almost 62. Banging. You got to pay the fees. There's a lot of slippage in that. It's just not worth it to me. Perfect time to sell Beto calls? I don't think so. Because I personally do think it's going to break to the upside, and if that catches any excitement, the last thing you want to be is in a capped trade on Beto. Let's just have it and collect some dividends. Now, the S&P dropped all the way down, hit that yellow zone right down here, and then we bounced. Let's go down to a smaller time frame. We had a little hiccup at this yellow zone, right? So we hit this yellow zone. Let's really zoom in for the people on the mobile devices. Didn't realize I bumped it. All right, so from the mobile devices, it sold off, hit that yellow zone, bounced all the way up to the blue zone, sold all the way back off, ended up being a wick, and then we went zone to zone again. Now we hit this yellow zone. We played the back and forth game, a little ping pong game. If you've been following for a while, I did not draw these zones today, yesterday, last week, or the week prior. They've been on there for a while. They're just called magic if you don't understand how the markets work. With one, hopefully if I do save up enough one day, I want to buy a crystal ball. Almost there. I had some before. I just gave them away in a giveaway. So I'm going to get another one, and the numbers will be a little bit more accurate. But let's watch these 2 zones right now. As far as futures go, this is where your head is at for the S&P. For everyone asking, this is SPY. This is ES futures. I know it's going to get repeated 9 million times. Because TikTok will come in, hey, can you break down ES? And then I do, and then I move on to like QQQ, and then someone else comes in and says, hey, can you break down ES? Like, holy cow, yeah, were you not here? Is it just the luck? How does that work? Anyway, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm live on both right now. Snow Bunny Cake 420 shared the live. YouTube, where are you guys at? How many of you guys have shared the live? Would I have more subscribers if you guys shared? You guys know why I gained so much on TikTok? Because of, let me shout her out one more time again. Snow Bunny Cake 420 shared it. So, banging. Appreciate that. SPY fell the last rate cut. Yeah, but the last rate cut was a very different time than this rate cut. Entirely different world. So I wouldn't put too much on the rate cut just yet. As far as like past, it did this in the past. There's even charts going around about every time, but it's not every time because they left out a couple times. You gotta be careful with the people sharing. This happened in 1930. This happened in 1980. Because it does fit their narrative, and it is cherry-picked data most of the time. So for now, it's a new world, it's a new time. Back then, they didn't even have, they had Bitcoin. Some of them. Depends on how far back we go. Anyway, so as far as my thoughts, as far as ES SPY, the S&P, I've called it by everything you will know it as and trade it as. Tomorrow, watch these 2 zones. If we get above this, all this was just a great dip buy. And we call it great because we haven't even seen a red candle this big in forever. But as far as the expected moves, we drew these out on Sunday. So if you aren't following me, make sure you do, and then show up on Sunday. Because we draw this line right here, and we got just outside of it, and then they reined it right back in. So when I said I think the fireworks are done, I do think it's the dip buy. I just don't think we're going to beat out today's high. I think hopefully what I hope to pan out is I'm right and I make a bunch of money on the SPY calls that I'm in. But I think bull case, good case, I think we just get kind of back up here as far as the S&P goes to that 561 level. It would be incredibly awesome if it got any higher. If for some reason Powell comes out and says something different than he has said the last 52,000 times he's actually talked, and there is a red reaction, there's a lot of time to go before market makers are concerned down here at the 547 level. if there was a red reaction and we were to just send it that low, I do think I would be bullish over the weekend. I'm at the buy the dip mode. After all of this, we had the craziest move in Japan since 1987. You had everyone panicking. There's World War III in the news every other day. And then we melt this thing down. VIX shoots up. And then we just V-shape recover that thing like it's just no big deal. We forgot the memo of world peace. At that point, we crushed a lot of these previous lower highs. So all I'm doing is buying the dip. As far as the dip that I bought today, you guys know this because if you're in my group. I bought SPY calls that expire tomorrow, which is not something that I normally do. Typically, if I'm buying calls, it's at the money 2 weeks out. Because of the sell-off right here, I'm still in dip buy mode. I wanted to keep it light. I chose to do that over ES because, one, it's a lot cheaper than holding an ES contract overnight, and I didn't want to put a stop in here and tag out because that I would just wake up to a wick that came down overnight, tagged my position out, and then sent it. That would just really annoy me. So the SPY calls were super cheap, and if they lose, it's 100% loss, no big deal, risk in capital. Or if we push all the way back up, percentage-wise, it's going to be quite a bit. So, hopefully we send it. But also, if we do have a red reaction to anything tomorrow as far as Jackson Hole or Powell speaking, I'll still be bullish over the weekend. I'll just wait for the dip buy. Atticus says I rolled up in a lot of my positions today. My phone was blown up today on should I be rolling calls? Should we? I know some people in the group, they bought their sold calls back. I do think it's a good time to get cute with that. So if you were in sold calls and after that run up kind of in management mode, and it sold off today, I think it's a good time to buy those back, let it pop up, and then sell some calls again on that. Kind of lock it in. Moving on, we got the NASDAQ. So drop down. Again, we had a little hiccup at this yellow zone, bounced out of this one, and here it is, guys, bear flag or reversal. And like I say this all the time, depending on your echo chamber you like to sit in, you're probably only hearing one or the other. If you're in the bearish crowd, they're going to call that a bear flag. If you're in the bulls, they're going to call that a high or low. Just know that that's the coin flip, right? That's the heads and tails. Manage your risk according. The easiest thing to do right now on the NASDAQ is to watch this this hourly candle right here. So here's where the news is. Here's where all the excuses to move markets and move the order flow around. You have the high right here and the low right here, and just sideways since then. So keep an eye on that, and then breaking that up or down will likely be your deciding factor. I think it'll probably break up, and we'll probably just land right here at that yellow zone. So as far as the expected moves go, I don't know if the Qs make it all the way back up unless NVIDIA just leads the way and just leads the charge. All right. As far as the Russell goes, that just does. It looks more like a reversal than anything else, so I would be long this. If I don't like to put stops in the zones, but if I'm buying the Russell futures, I would put my stop right below this red wick. And if you can't see it, the red wick is right here where that dashed horizontal line is. I would go right below this red wick. I would go long, stop right below there, and just go back up. I bought back a covered call. Felt good until Cody shamed me. Rolled up on a red day. If you were in management mode, a lot of those actually you could roll up because it brought it closer to at the money. So the premium actually did get juiced up for some. There's Xavier. What about SPY? I told you guys, someone's going to come in as soon as I finish it up and be like, hey, what about SPY? Or I'll finish with SPY. What about ES? Xavier, anybody? Guys, I'm on a tight – he's on TikTok. I'm on a tight schedule tonight. I have to be done by 6:15. It's 6:06 my time. So I'm going to break down a few more tickers. But go to YouTube, Don Fran Trading, and I went over let's not do that anymore. Oh, hang on. I moved it around. There we go, TikTok. I went over this list first. So we started with the dollar, U.S. dollar, Japanese yen, Bitcoin, the S&P, the NASDAQ, and then the Russell. I just don't want to spend too much time repeating myself just because, again, I'm on a tight schedule. As far as Tesla goes, now I actually really like Tesla right here. I just don't like it if it breaks. Well, don't get me wrong. I really like Tesla in general. What I won't like price action wise is if we actually break this and get any lower. I think this is the dip buy. This is going to be our first kind of true test of this zone. This is just kind of the midpoint. I drew this zone out a while back saying, we're selling off and said, hey, if we get above this, this is kind of the high I'm looking for. If we reject right here, lower high, trending down. Break above that, we're good. And I even told you guys, now I already did buy Tesla, but I said, hey, if we get above this zone, hit this yellow one, pull back right into here, I think that's the buy. But now I'm not in calls, I'm just in shares. So I really want that one to hold. If I was trading it today and not gonna hold, I'm accumulating shares regardless. And anything I buy right now, just so you guys know, so I'm speaking to you guys as traders, I would probably go long and put my stop at 209.45. Anything you hear me buy right now is shares or options contracts that expire outside of my SPY ones, are in December. I want to give it time. So for now, watching that zone. Oh, yeah, and again, shout out to my admin, Cody. He's who does the clips. So if you do subscribe to Don Fron Trading, I actually break down the dollar, the U.S. dollar, Japanese yen, Bitcoin, the S&P, the NASDAQ, and the Russell every night. And Cody takes that and clips it and just puts it in a clip. So when you guys see that in the morning, the 5-8 minute clips, that's all that is. So if you want to just, I know some people have that as their morning routine, which is why we added that. That's 100% Cody's job. That's all he does is make sure you guys get that clip. But again, that's not on TikTok. That is on YouTube. All right. Let me check through here. I see Lucid. What, did they sell a car? Lucid doing things, huh? Showing up. They must have sold maybe even 3 cars this year. I do like the Lucid Air. I will still, however, make fun of it regardless. Hope that doesn't hurt anybody's feelings. Honestly, I would have this zoned out right here. Think if we get above that, could be good. Let me just finish zoning this out. Yeah, for sure right there. And then we have to watch this level right there. All right, so there's your zones for Lucid. Hang on, let me zone it out, and then we'll talk about it. Zones come first. And where I draw these is actually what I'm looking at for these zones. Okay, so today getting back above, it needs to probably get above and hold. Hang on, we got to worry about this spot right there. And that's right where it rejected too. Anything in the middle? You could probably let's chart it out just so it's. Remember, all your charts are just your notes, guys. So I'm watching this. We got a drop base drop, rally base rally. We bounced out of there. Kind of nothing there. Rejection there. A lot of action right here. So we bounced up, hit that, sold right back off, and here we are again. So you certainly want it to get above that $4 mark on a stock this price. That's going to be a pretty decent psychological level for retail traders. I gotta say, if it breaks 360, there's a chance it has just that wick down to ultimately if it breaks 350, you're probably coming down to that $3 mark. On a pretty decent run up, but it's important not to judge the bulls by the green candles. Judge them by the red candles that show up. Because yeah, it's cool. It moved up on a cheaper ticker like this. You can push the crowd around a little bit. But do the bears just show up and erase that, or do the bears just show up and it makes it just flat? The opposing force flattens that thing out. Because then I'm thinking, hey, we might rally this thing. But for now, I guess the break above 4, we're rocking and rolling. You're gonna have to instantly watch that 430 mark, and then again the break below 360 probably coming in hot. For anyone that's going to do this longer term, if it does break that, you really want it to just bounce probably around that 320, 315. I'm talking just the top of this zone. Maybe hit that type 1 area and kind of create that higher low. Comfortably in that zone, you're still there. We break this yellow box in that $3 mark any way, form, or fashion, probably getting lower. UPS, gap fill. Let's go find that gap. All right, so here is the gap, but because we're not simple-minded, it's actually down here. All right. Is that a zone? Interesting that we picked that level out like that, or that it gapped around there. A lot of times when things gap, that actually is a zone. That looks like a market maker just didn't even want to jack with it. Just get it above that zone, start triggering everybody else's orders, get them out of here. Why did that not? There we go. All right. Where are we at? Gapped right to it, sold off, bounced, rejected, all the way around. I guess hopefully that's probably what you would want if you're short. Either way, that's even if you're a scalper or even just a quick day trader, that 125 mark might not be a bad type 2 entry. Let's see, trending down. You know, I would probably buy that zone. If you're talking about a gap fill, then maybe you're just worried about the pennies right here. Please don't take offense to that. I like to swing trade. I make more that way. But I would have my stop at 121.35. If it breaks that, let somebody else lose their money on this. How about to the upside? Did you ask about UPS? Okay. I would like it more to the upside right now. Just because we're holding this level, and if that's the bounce and going to make a higher low right here, if we bring on the extended hours, it's bouncing a little bit right there. If that's going to be the higher low, you really want it breaking this 129, 130. If it breaks that, I would set my eyes right here at this level, speed bump zone. Watch out for sellers there in the 133 mark. Ultimately, going to really be tightening things up here. We get up there, and I would have to start tightening up stops and get ready for maybe a reversal, kind of bounce back down, maybe even play the back and forth game. If we hit that yellow zone, tighten up stops. If that tags out, gets back in here, I would buy back in. Who that says, good night, folks. Don has important things to do. Good luck tomorrow. Yes, I do have to jump onto a Zoom session right now with my group. Unfortunately, you guys know these streams usually take forever because I like to just answer everyone's questions. Unfortunately, got a tight schedule tonight. So do me a huge solid. Subscribe, follow whichever platform you're on, and you will see me again for sure on Sunday, but I'm going to try to do some stuff tomorrow too. So I'll see you guys there. Have a good one.